Hi, I'm Larry Hanley, the International President of the Amalgamated Transit Union, sharing with you the vision that we have for 2012, both in Canada and the United States. We currently face a crisis in the United States. It's been going on for 2 years in mass transit. We have suffered layoffs all across the country, and threats of more cuts in service continue in places like Pittsburgh and Detroit and many other cities around the United States. And as you know, our problems are beginning to spread in Canada, where we currently have 4 bargaining units out on strike, fighting companies from multinational companies like Veolia and First Group, who are trying to drive down wages throughout the world. We have a very important year coming up legislatively. In 2012, we are trying to get the Carnahan legislation passed through Congress. This is a bill that will enable us to get operating aid out to the cities all across the United States so that transit can be revived, so that layoffs will stop, and so that service cuts will no longer be a pressing crisis in 2012 and going forward. And our locals have really stepped up to the battle. We have over 12,000 letters that have come in from local unions all across the United States, targeted to members of Congress who have power on the committee that controls transit. And first, I want to thank all of you who have participated in writing those letters, collecting them, and getting them into us so that we can share them with Congress. We are having a meaningful impact. As of today, we have 135 members of Congress signed on to what might be the first bipartisan bill of 2012. And bipartisan, I mean we actually have Republican members of Congress that are not only signed on as sponsors of this legislation, but also helping us lead the way in Congress to get transit funding at this crucial moment. In 2012, we'll also have a critical election year. The presidency of the United States, as well as all the seats in Congress, and a third of the Senate will be up for grabs, and the ATU will have the most aggressive political program we have ever had to help our friends get elected to office. We'll be calling upon our officers and our locals, as well as all our members, to get out there and fight where it matters in the streets, to get people elected who are going to save mass transit in the United States. In Canada as well, we're going to have an aggressive program. We are working with the NDP, that's the New Democratic Party in Canada, first, to try and develop a national transit strategy, which has not been done, and also to fight some of the imported legislation that's coming in from the United States, led by conservative members of Parliament, to strip labor of its rights. We have launched numerous campaigns. You all know about the campaign we have to get our local unions to engage in coalition building in our cities with people who ride our buses and with community groups that care about transit. That program will continue and will be enlarged in 2012. We've had many successes in our local unions around the country who have begun to really develop grassroots approaches to bringing pressure on elected officials by organizing the people who depend on our systems, our riders. That, as I say, will continue throughout 2012, and we look forward to working with any local union that wants to establish a coalition partner campaign in your city. We've also worked closely with the Occupy movement, and we have had many successes around the country, particularly, though, in places like Pensacola, in Chicago, and in Pittsburgh, where the Occupy movement has taken on the cause of better mass transit in those cities. And we encourage our members and our officers to reach out to this group because we have very common interests in fighting on behalf of the 99% of people who work so hard in America and never get credit for the work they do. Fighting privatization will be a key battle in 2012. The large multinationals are working behind the scenes in Congress to try and tamper with federal legislation to move federal funding to support private companies over public. And we are in this battle already, and we will be in it and see it through. We'll also be working with you in your locals and in your communities on an as-needed basis to help you fight privatization as it pops up in your local, whether it be in the United States or in Canada. We have a campaign to fight in the over-the-road industry about driver fatigue. Too many of our members and too many bus drivers around the country are dying along with their passengers because they're being given the worst working conditions in history. Bus drivers should not have to die simply to make a living. And the fact is that because wages have been driven down so low in the over-the-road industry, it's common for bus drivers to work 100 hours a week in order to make a living, and we need to change that. And the ATU is working closely with our locals in the over-the-road industry, including Greyhound and others, to change the law to cover interstate bus drivers with the Fair Labor Standards Act and all the overtime provisions that come with that. We've also entered into a joint campaign with the Transport Workers Union nationally to fight bus driver assaults. The fact of the matter is that bus drivers are curbside tax collectors. You are out there collecting taxes for the government, and they've increased the fares in 85% of our cities. And our members are the ones who have to go out there in tough areas at times when service has been cut and fares have been increased. And we're very aware of that. And we're also very painfully aware of the fact that more and more of our members are being assaulted at work. And this campaign, as I said, is jointly funded and jointly run by the TW and the ATU, and we'll be working in an unprecedented way with our sister union to get that done. As a union, we'll stand in solidarity with all striking workers, but particularly with our own members who currently are on strike across Canada and possibly in the near future in the United States. Our heart goes out to the workers in York Region and in New Brunswick who have been on strike for many weeks trying to get a fair contract, and we're also aware that multinational companies are behind those strikes too. We'll be providing training and education programs throughout both Canada and the United States throughout 2012. We will be drilling down into local unions to provide more stewards training where it really counts, and you'll be getting information from us in the coming weeks about those programs. Communication is critical. We have worked throughout 2011 to increase our communication capacity here at the International. We've worked with local unions to provide free websites and to enable local unions to have better education and training, both in social media and also in communicating with the press. We will continue that program not only through our training, but also by reaching out to locals and helping them in crisis situations to deal with the press and to deal with the public and to communicate our message better. Additionally, we work very hard to keep you informed through our email newsletter called The Dispatch, through our website, through our Facebook page, and we encourage you to visit atu.org to sign up to get these vital information pieces to you as quickly as possible. We also want to collect as many emails for our members as we can so that on a regular basis we can keep you informed about what's going on throughout the Union and throughout transit in the United States and Canada. So please visit our website and connect with us so that we can connect with you. Finally, I want to thank all the officers of every local and the members of those locals that are out there fighting so hard every day. Your work does not go unnoticed, and I hope that the local members will take into account as you consider the various struggles that we're involved in, that your local officers have never been more challenged than they are today. Between transit cuts and fare increases and tough contract battles, your officers are challenged every day they come to work and need your support. So please take into consideration the fact that your local officers are dedicated and give of their time, and thank them for the work that they do every day to make this a union that makes things happen. Thank you.